Okay, so you know how it is. You're all excited for that epic road trip, right? And then bam! That car insurance renewal notice hits you like a ton of bricks.
It's a real mood killer for sure.
Yeah. But what if I told you we could like totally flip that script? Like turn that dread into like cha-ching?
I like where this is going.
We're going to dive deep into some seriously clever strategies for slashing car insurance costs right here in the UK.
Sounds good to me.
We've got this awesome article from My Insurance Advice UK, and guess what?
Why?
They claim you can cut your costs NNHAF.
Whoa, in half. That's a deep dive worth taking.
Seriously. So to kick things off, maybe you can give us a quick overview of car insurance basics, just to make sure everyone's on the same page before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely. So you've got your basic third-party cover, which is the legal minimum in the UK, but then you've got comprehensive cover, which covers a lot more.
Okay, so comprehensive, that's like the works, right?
Yeah.
Damage to your own car, fire, theft, the whole shebang.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Sometimes going for comprehensive can actually work out cheaper than just the basic third party.
Wait, really? That sounds counterintuitive. Why would that be?
It's all about how insurers assess risk, you see.
Okay, I'm listening.
Someone opting for comprehensive is basically signaling to the insurer that they're serious about protecting their car. So they're probably more likely to be a careful driver, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
More likely to keep their car in good nick and generally just be more risk averse.
So from the insurance company's perspective, less risky driver equals less chance of a payout.
Exactly, which then translates into lower premiums for the driver.
Whoa, that's like a total psychology hack. You're basically telling the insurance company, hey, I'm a responsible driver, treat me right.
Exactly. And that actually leads perfectly into another gem from the article, which is the power of shopping around. Don't just let your policy auto-renew.
Oh, guilty as charged. I do that all the time.
Happens to the best of us, but insurers often save their best deals for new customers.
So loyalty doesn't really pay when it comes to car insurance.
Not always. So take the time to compare quotes. Check out the big names, but don't forget those smaller players too. You might be surprised.
Okay, so compare. But how do you know if a smaller company is like legit? I wouldn't want to end up with some dodgy insurer.
Of course that's a valid concern. You've got to do your research. Check out reviews, look into their financial stability, make sure they're authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Good point. So due diligence is key. Got it. Now, the article talked about something called voluntary excess, which honestly sounded a bit like a gamble to me.
Right, voluntary excess. Think of it this way. It's like you're at a poker table making a bet with the insurance company. You're betting you won't have an accident.
Okay, and they're betting that I will.
Exactly. And the voluntary excess is the amount you're willing to cough up front. If you lose that bet, if you have to make a claim.
So the higher your bet, the lower your premiums.
Basically, because you're taking on more of the risk yourself.
Right, so it's a calculated risk. You're saying, hey, I'm a safe driver. I'm willing to bet on myself.
Exactly. And here's the deep dive part. You really got to be honest with yourself about what you can afford.
Yeah, I get that. No point in saving a few quid if you're going to be crippled if you actually have to make a claim.
Right. It's about striking that balance between potential savings and peace of mind.
Okay, That makes total sense. So let's switch gears a bit and talk about driving habits. The article mentioned telematics, which I've always kind of seen as Big Brother-ish. Is that something worth considering?
It definitely can be. Especially for younger drivers or anyone who is really confident in their safe driving skills.
Oh, okay. So how does that work?
It's all about proving to the insurance company that you're a low-risk driver, right? With telematics, your driving does the talking for you, literally. You've got a device or an app tracking things like your speed, how you brake, how you take corners, even what times of day you're driving.
So it's like having an invisible co-pilot who's vouching for your good driving?
You got it. And all that data gets sent back to the insurance company, and if it shows you're a responsible driver, boom, you could get hit with some seriously lower premiums.
Interesting. So if you're a bit lead-footed, maybe telematics isn't the best idea.
Probably not, but for those smooth operators out there, it can be a game changer. Plus, it can even encourage safer driving.
Yeah, when you know you're being watched, you're probably going to be a bit more careful.
For sure. Speaking of safety, let's talk about where you park your car.
Okay, so I'm guessing safer location equals lower risk.
Exactly. Parking in a garage or on a private driveway is generally seen as more secure than leaving your car on the street.
Makes sense. Less chance of theft, vandalism, all that jazz.
Right. And then you've got security features. It's not just about having an alarm, though, right?
What else is there?
Things like immobilizers, which stop your car from being started without the right key, those can make a difference too.
Okay, so like a theft deterrent. And I read something about dash cams too. Do those actually make a difference?
You'd be surprised. Some insurers are starting to recognize them. Think of it as having an eyewitness in case of an accident.
Oh, right. So the footage can help settle claims faster.
Exactly, because it gives you objective evidence of what happened.
That's pretty cool. So secure parking, security features, maybe even a dash cam, it all adds up to that low-risk profile.
You got it. And this next one might surprise you, your credit score.
Wait, my credit score can affect my car insurance. How does that even work?
It might seem odd, but here in the UK, insurers can actually look at your credit score when calculating your premiums.
Really? So they're basically saying if you're responsible with your finances, you're probably responsible behind the wheel too.
That's the logic, yeah. They see a link between how you manage money and how you manage risk.
So paying my bills on time could actually lead to lower car insurance costs. Wild.
I can, absolutely. It's not the only factor, but it definitely plays a role.
Okay, so good financial habits equal good driver, at least in the eyes of the insurance companies. Now, what about modifications? Does tricking out my ride help or hurt my premiums?
Ah, that's a good question. And a lot of people get this wrong. While mods can make your car look cool, they can also increase the risk of theft.
Oh, right, because it might be more attractive to thieves.
Exactly. Or they might be perceived as making you more likely to have an accident. So things like tinted windows, fancy alloy wheels, performance upgrades, all that jazz, it can actually push up your premiums.
So if I'm rocking a totally stock, no-frills car, that's actually a good thing insurance-wise.
You got it. Keeping your car as it came from the factory can be a smart move if you're trying to keep those costs down. And remember, if you do have modifications, you've got to tell your insurer.
Right. Honesty is the best policy, literally. Now, what about adding a named driver? Is that a good move?
It can be helpful in some situations, especially if you're not driving that often, or you share your car with someone who has a really good driving record.
Okay, so like a partner or a family member.
Yeah, but there's a big caveat here. You should always be listed as the main driver if it's your car. No fronting.
Fronting.
Basically putting someone else down as the main driver just to get a lower premium. That's illegal.
Okay, so no sneaky insurance maneuvers. Got it.
Yeah.
But if it's done legit, adding a named driver can potentially help.
It can, yeah. Now, let's talk about how you pay. Does it really matter if I pay monthly or annually?
I've always wondered about that.
It might seem like a small detail, but it can make a difference. While it's tempting to spread the cost out with monthly payments, you usually end up paying more overall because of interest charges.
Right, so it's like a loan.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If you can swing it financially, paying annually in one lump sum will generally save you money in the long run.
Okay, delayed gratification for the win. Now, what about those advanced driving courses? Do they actually lead to lower premiums?
They can, yeah. Courses like Pass Plus here in the UK are all about improving your driving skills, making you a safer, more confident driver. Some insurers recognize these courses and offer discounts to drivers who've completed them.
So it's not just about learning fancy maneuvers, it's about investing in your skills, Andy, saving money.
Exactly, a win-win.
All right, last but not least, and this might seem kind of obvious, what about the type of car you drive? Does that really have a big impact?
Absolutely. Cars are grouped into these insurance groups based on things like engine size, value, how much they cost to repair, safety features, all that.
Right, so some cars are just inherently more expensive to insure.
Exactly. So if you're thinking of getting a new car and insurance is a big concern, definitely check which insurance group a car falls into before you sign on the dotted line.
Got it. It's not just about the brand or how old the car is, it's about those insurance groups. Okay, before we move on, I got to highlight what the article called the most powerful tip of all, maintaining a clean driving record.
Couldn't agree more. That's the golden rule of car insurance.
Yeah, but why is it so important?
Think about it. Every time your policy comes up for renewal, the insurer's going to check your driving history, right?
Makes sense.
A clean record, no accidents, no speeding tickets, no violations. It shows them you're a responsible, low-risk driver.
And that makes them happy.
Very happy. It's basically the foundation for lower premiums in the long run.
Okay, so be a good driver and your insurance company will shower you with discounts?
Pretty much. It's all about consistency and building that trust over time.
Got it. Patience and a steady foot on the accelerator. Well, we've covered a ton of ground here, from shopping around and voluntary excess to telematics, credit scores, even the car you choose. It's a lot to take in.
It is. And we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore.
I can't wait.
In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to dig into how the author of this article actually managed to cut their car insurance costs in half.
Oh, the suspense.
Plus, we'll tackle some even bigger questions about how we could maybe design a society that minimizes the need for car insurance altogether. Stay tuned.
This is getting good. All right, everyone, we'll be back soon with more juicy insights on the deep dive. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone. We're like deep in the world of car insurance now, and honestly, it's way more interesting than I thought it would be.
Right. Who knew there were so many, clever ways to outsmart those rising premiums?
For real. So let's get back to that crazy claim from the article. You know, the author managed to cut their insurance costs in HAF.
In half, yeah. That's the dream, right?
Total dream. So spill the beans. What was their secret?
Well, it wasn't like one magic trick or anything. It was more like a combo of those smart strategies we talked about earlier.
Okay, so like shopping around, being a good driver, all that.
Exactly. They were super diligent about comparing quotes every year. They bumped up their voluntary excess to a level they were comfy with.
And of course, kept their driving records squeaky clean.
Yep, that's the big one.
So consistency and good habits are key. I'm curious, though, did they mention anything about negotiating with their insurer? Is that even a thing you can do?
It's always worth a shot. The article didn't really go into that specifically, but it can't hurt to reach out to your current insurer and see if they'll match a competitor's quote,
True. The worst they can say is no.
Exactly. You might just get lucky and snag a lower premium without having to switch providers.
Love that. All right, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about some longer-term strategies, things we can focus on to make a real dent in those costs over time.
Absolutely. So we talked about the link between credit scores and car insurance, right?
Yeah, the whole good credit equals good driver thing.
Right. Well, that's definitely a long game. It takes time to build up a good credit history, but it can pay off big time. Not just for car insurance, but for, your whole financial life.
Like a ripple effect of positive financial choices.
Exactly. And of course, there's that golden rule we keep coming back to, maintaining a clean driving record.
Always got to mention that one.
It's not about being perfect for a year or two. It's about establishing a pattern of safe, responsible driving over many years.
Makes sense. Consistency is key, for sure. And if you're a younger driver, sticking with a telematics policy for a while can be a great way to build up that good driving rep, and potentially save a lot down the line.
It's like building your driving reputation from scratch, data point by data point.
Exactly. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The article touched on this idea of designing your life to minimize insurance costs.
Designing your life. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Is this like some crazy life hack scheme?
Not quite that extreme, but it's about taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture, thinking about how the choices you make in your life can impact your premiums.
Oh, I'm listening.
So, for example, where you choose to live can play a role. Is it a high crime area? That could mean a higher risk of theft or vandalism, which could affect your insurance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's your commute. How far do you drive each day? Could you maybe take public transport more often? Cycle? Walk?
Right. Not only could that lower your mileage, which could mean lower premiums, but it's also good for your health and the environment.
Exactly. It's a win-win-win.
I love a good win-win-win.
Me too. And this brings us to an even bigger question. What about designing a society that minimizes the need for car insurance altogether?
Whoa, now we're talking. So systemic change, not just personal tweaks.
Exactly. Imagine cities designed for public transport, walking, cycling. Imagine self-driving cars everywhere, cutting down on accidents.
And maybe even moving away from individual car ownership to more shared mobility options.
Right. It's crazy to think about how these big ideas could completely change our relationship with cars and transportation.
Seriously, mind-blowing stuff.
And that's what's so cool about these deep dives, right? We're not just skimming the surface, we're going deep, connecting the dots, and sparking new ideas.
Love it. It's not just about saving money, it's about opening our minds to new possibilities.
Couldn't agree more. And who knows, maybe those small choices we make today, like driving less, can contribute to a bigger shift towards a more sustainable, more equitable, maybe even insurance optional world.
Now that's something to think about. Okay, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
And honestly, I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on this whole car insurance thing.
Me too.
But before we wrap up this part, what would you say is the single most important takeaway for our listeners?
For me, it all comes back to that idea of empowerment through knowledge. Like, once you understand how car insurance works, what drives those premiums up or down, and the strategies you can use to take control.
You're not just a pawn in the game anymore.
Exactly. You're in the driver's seat, making informed choices that align with your own values and goals.
I love that analogy. It's not about feeling helpless, it's about feeling empowered.
For sure. And remember, it's not about finding that one magic solution. It's about combining different strategies, being persistent, and finding what works best for you.
So, armed with this newfound knowledge and a bit of determination, we can all hit the road feeling a little bit smarter
A little bit savvier.
and a lot more in control of our car insurance destinies.
That's a great way to put it. And hey, who knows? Maybe some of you will even achieve that dream of cutting your costs in half.
That would be amazing. But even if we don't all get to that magic 50% mark, I think we can all agree that we've gained something way more valuable, a deeper understanding of the system and that sense of empowerment.
Absolutely. Now, before we say goodbye for now, I've got one last thought-provoking question to leave you with. Something to chew on as you continue on your quest for cheaper car insurance.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a ride exploring the crazy world of car insurance.
Seriously, it's like a whole different language sometimes.
Right, but I feel like we've cracked the code a bit, Uncovered some real gems for keeping those premiums in check.
Absolutely. It's all about being proactive, understanding the rules of the game.
Exactly, and remembering that we're not powerless. We've got options. We talked about everything from shopping around and that voluntary excess thing
Right.
to building good credit and even using tech like telematics to our advantage.
And let's not forget those bigger picture ideas like how our choices today could shape the future of transportation.
Oh, yeah, that was mind-blowing. Remember that question you posed? Like, what if we could create a society that doesn't even need car insurance?
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it?
Seriously. Imagine cities designed for walking, cycling, public transport, self-driving cars everywhere, way fewer accidents.
And maybe we wouldn't even need to own cars individually anymore. More shared mobility,
It's amazing to think about how even small changes we make now could contribute to that kind of future.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about these deep dives. They're not just about learning stuff. They're about sparking those aha moments.
Right, challenging those old assumptions and opening our minds to new possibilities.
Exactly.
So as you guys head out on your mission to conquer those car insurance costs, remember to keep that bigger picture in mind.
Think long term.
Yeah, because even small choices can make a difference. We could be part of something much bigger, like creating a more sustainable, equitable, maybe even a car insurance optional world.
Wow. That's a powerful thought.
It is. Well, we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive.
So much good stuff.
And honestly, I feel like a car insurance ninja now.
Me too.
But before we say goodbye, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Just remember, knowledge is power. Once you understand how this whole system works, you can start making those smart choices that are right for you. You're in control.
I love that. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this epic deep dive into the world of car insurance.
It's been a pleasure.
May your roads be smooth, your premiums low, and your adventures unforgettable. Until next time, stay curious and keep on diving deep.
Please subscribe to our channel for more videos.